Come on, everybody, let's start the show. A quick ahoy hoy and away we'll go. Richard's got a minifig and Flynn's got a pin. The gang's all here and it's time to begin. Tricky Bricks roll call. Moto, Holly, Cara, and sometimes Blair, Clicky, Logan, Ms. Thing and Angela, and Thunderman Ho! Now you're here to grab your bricks and let's go to the Tricky Bricks Build and Chat Show!
Ahoy, hoy, everyone.
Ahoy, hoy, everyone. Happy Sunday. Hope you are having a good weekend so far. We've got coffee.
We do in our tiny little 50s
little mini
I
cups.
think people used to drink a lot less Folgers, right, than they do these days.
Exactly. Golly, well, we have got stuff to talk about today. So I feel like we should just kind of dive right in and start bringing on our guests for today. So we have some of our regular panelists and a special guest. So please welcome to the stream all the way up north. It's Holly. Hi, Holly.
Hi, hi. Good morning,
Ahoy,
everyone.
how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Oh, I love your shirt. I have a matching
I think we
one.
have the same one.
It's the best.
I had my fingers crossed. We didn't wear it on the same day. That would be tacky.
That wouldn't be terrible, but that's yeah, it's a great shirt.
Yeah.
All right, and from season 2 of Lego Masters,
Oh, that show.
it's Moto. Hi, Moto.
Hey, Moto.
Hello.
Ahoy.
How are you doing today?
Good. Good. I was out doing some estate sales, so I think I have something to show you that you guys might want.
Oh, very fun.
I like your hoodie. It looks like you're getting ready to do a children's show.
Yeah, this is my lime green hoodie. This is
Yay!
this is what I've been known for, is the lime green hoodie. It's been with me everywhere. It was on the set, or not on the set, sorry, in the green room when we were filming. And Randall will probably recognize this lime green monstrosity that I used in those early wee hours of the day.
Very nice.
Very comfy.
Yeah.
And thank you for that excellent segue, because we also have from season 2 Lego Masters, it's Randall, who's muted right now.
Uh-oh.
There we go.
Thank God I didn't say anything. Just wanted to yeah.
And
Randall.
how are you doing today?
I'm all right. Moto, I don't recognize that hoodie at all. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
It's all
Yes.
mid.
I could go get the Helly Hansen jacket if you want. Put it on top. I also had a Helly Hansen jacket that I would bundle up in because
I
I
do
was right by
remember
the big
Yes.
glass door of Hoth.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love your Chicago sign, by the way. I saw you holding it up. Now it looks like it's in parts now. What happened?
Oh, it was already in parts. It just looked so good put together that you couldn't tell.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. And it must be an extra special Sunday because we also have Blair is here. Hi,
Hey,
Blair.
Hello, it is I, sometimes Blair.
Good
First
to
name
see you.
sometimes.
It's kind of most of the time, Blair.
And
I
Blair,
tried.
I heard that you got to see Yano.
I did. Yeah.
That's so exciting.
Yes.
And now you met her at the store that we went with you, that cool toy store. Was that
Well,
it?
we started by meeting them at the Thai restaurant that I didn't get to eat with you guys at because of my crazy day.
Briefly.
And then, yes, we went to Coin Corner and hung out there and then went to the waterfall and everything. It was really
Oh,
nice.
how fun.
Cool.
Oh, what a good time. Very good.
That vegan Thai food was really good.
It was excellent, I must say. Just because she's been patiently waiting in the green room. We have our very special guest today from Brickset and the Women's Brick Initiative. Everybody, please welcome Megan Lum. Hi, Megan.
Hi, everybody.
Megan.
Ahoy, hoy.
Hi,
Ahoy,
stranger.
hoy. How are you?
Good. And it occurs to me that I have interviewed 3 folks on the screen on here for Brickset as a result of Lego Masters. So clearly that means Holly and Blair, you need to get on Lego Masters.
Wow, but we collabed briefly on an article series too. So I feel like that kind of counts. I've got my Brickset credentials.
And I know that my wife has been part of your events at conventions before.
It's all related. It's all related in one way or another. So, gosh, well, I'm actually, what a great panel to have. Now, I'm assuming, I know Cara said she might be a little bit late today, but I'm excited for this panel, especially given the subject that we're going to be talking about today, kind of the main subject. But before we get to that main thing, I did want to talk for a minute. Now, if you saw the show on Friday, you know that I was here by myself. So I kind of lightly touched on some of this Lego news, but I wanted to wait until we were all here to like really kind of talk about it. But I did want to show the 2 new sets that got approved from Lego Ideas and the one that's still under consideration, and just kind of have just a little talk about them just to kind of see what people's impressions of these are. Oh, right. There's that. Should we do that first?
Well, we've got that, and there's all those people hanging out there.
Oh, very cool. Well, let's kick off with pins, and then we'll look at the Lego Ideas stuff. So I know it feels weird to do pins without Cara here, but
I wondered if that's why you were holding off.
I kind of was, but then we do have a certain schedule to keep.
Right.
So let's kick off with you, Holly. What have you got for us today?
All right. Well, it's a reoccurring theme right now. And we've got the Paranorman.
Oh, very exciting.
The Paranorman zombie hand.
That is so good.
Back. Yep.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
That's a pretty good one. It's one of my favorites, really.
Nice. Thank you, Wilfred says the clutch power is strong with us today. I agree. Okay, how about Blair? What have you got for us today? Land of pins.
Well, so oddly enough, as my land of pins has been shrinking, I did have something, but it must have escaped somewhere into the couch here. Hopefully I don't find it incidentally with my butt. But I did bring these, which we got at our store event the other night. We had like a little team building event, and so we got a pack of Braille bricks that spell play well. So
that's
very cool.
So I've been really excited about these ever since they announced them, and I know that they are still pretty not elusive, I'd say, but exclusive.
Whoa.
I'm not sure what happened there.
Sorry, Blair. I hit the wrong button. My apologies. I was trying to do too many things at once. You know how our tech crew needs to be fired. They just don't pay close enough attention.
Bring in a new clicky.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that Braille is like 72-point type, like super giant Braille.
They said it's designed for people who have sight and who have difficulties with sight, both to help you learn how to use Braille. And I also want to use them in mocks too, because it'll be interesting to maybe do like micro scale builds that then you have brick and tile, and I don't know. It's a really awesome new platform for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool.
You could include secret codes in your mocks.
That too.
Mm-hmm.
So now, I found out that not only are we a terrible Lego influence, I got to tell you, every time we talk about a set or we do a review, I get like a message on Discord from somebody who's like, I can't believe you. I have to go buy this set now because I watched you talk about it on the show. Well, apparently, after so long of doing pins, we got Kim, our own Zarakino, hooked on pins, and she just did a trip to Disney and came back with a whole lanyard and like a bunch of pins. So
yeah,
glad to see the influence is spreading. Hey, Randall, do you got something for us today?
I do.
Awesome.
To keep with the theme of the Back to the Future skateboard schematic, I have a license plate pin from 2015.
Cool.
Oh, very nice.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Very futuristic.
Absolutely.
All right, and we got Moto.
I'm just rocking the Kevin Hinkle today.
Oh, sorry, let me get that up there. Oh, very nice.
Yep, Mr. Hinkle.
Very cool.
Perennial favorite of mine.
Now, Megan, I don't know if you were prepared with a pin today or not.
I was not, but
That's
since
okay.
everybody is doing kind of show and tell, yesterday for the first time, I know some people won't believe this, but 5 years ago, I got a complete set of the CMF Series 16s, which is the monsters.
Oh,
And I just
wow.
unwrapped them all today, and this one I think is my favorite.
Oh,
She's one of our favorites.
she's one of our favorites. She appeared several times in some of our very early mocks.
She was even in the theater for a while.
She was in the theater for a while. We were gonna have a theater ghost because there's always a theater ghost. So she was in there for a little while.
Yes.
But so how about us? What have we got today?
I've got one of my favorites, feeling very futuristic, with my monorail pin.
Sorry, Clicky
Can you
is
help out here?
He's
I
getting
think
there.
you get the idea. There
Yeah.
That's a good one. And I'm feeling pink today, so I've got Pascal in pink.
Oh, he looks like he ate a sour fly or something.
Very cool.
Looks a little concerned.
He usually is. So cool. Well, we are going to, everybody, by the way, give a shout out. We're going to be shouting out the chat here in just a minute. So do make sure and say hello in the chat so your name populates our little list over here on YouTube. So make sure we catch everybody.
And I just wanted to say a special shout out to Matthew Builds Bricks. We hope you feel better.
I know he's not feeling so well right now, so hopefully you feel better soon. Golly, sorry, I'm looking, just waiting for the little list to populate here. But we could start off with people who are saying hi in the chat, or I could use the very slow, the slow YouTube list.
Kim says she bought too many pins.
Can you really buy too many pins? I mean, that's the thing.
You have one for
If they're
every
weighing-
occasion.
Just don't wear them all at the same time because they will weigh you down. Like you will start walking like this from like.
If you do, though, it does become at least a +1 to your armor.
Oh, yeah.
It does actually. Really early on Twitch, before I knew like that there was a way that you could like pause the point redeems. I had like this one called pins, and if people turn in their channel points, I'll wear a pin. Well, they discovered I hadn't put a limit on it, and people just spammed it over and over, and I ended up with like an entire like décolletage of pins all the way. I think I had like a +3 to my armor at that point. Like there were so many.
You need a denim vest like Dawn.
I do need a denim vest because that might actually hold everything. So, all right, well, let's see who's here. Apples is here from Europe. Hello, Apples. Brick Jedi, Brickaroo Bonsai, Bricks and Mortar. Hi, Jimmy.
Chris Circle Triangle Square Chalice.
Oh, God.
Very
Oh
geometric.
gosh,
I think that's a Squid Game reference, I'm going to
it
guess.
is. Yes.
Chunky Monkey is here. Darren Siegfried, Diana Snodgrass, Fabufan MKE, Heather Mraz, Hell's Bells.
Holly
is here all over the place, in the chat, on the screen. You never know where you'll find her. We've got Hooded One. Jeff Kremer is here. Hello. Joel Havstuds will travel Marbella. John Luttrell and Vicky. Hello. We got Lisa Head. Maraid. Hi, Maraid. So we got Maraid Walsh, Matthew Builds Bricks, Minifig Nick, Monica Berry, and Moto.
And
Miss Low Bricked Up. Hi, Dawn. Good to see
Hey,
you.
Dawn.
That's a super Emscapades today.
More Lego Masters in the house. We've got Patrick Wismer is here. Rob Zaccardi and the Zaccardis. Hello. Looking forward to seeing you next week. We've got Wilfred. Bonsoir. Wyatt Builds. Zach Martinez. And Zarakino. Kim. We did it at the same time. We did it the same way this time. That's never happened in the history of shout outs, I don't think. But you never know.
It's the small victories.
I think we're well over 300 episodes by now, so it was about time.
See, all that rehearsal paid off.
Exactly.
I know. I get my lines down fast.
Oh, Moto's back. Hi again.
Yeah, my internet's going in and out today. It's just one of
Uh-oh.
those lovely fall days.
Ah, very good. Well, we understand. We're used to your internet intermittence.
Yes, I know. It's a
If
thing.
you will. So, all right. Well, let's real quick. Let's touch on this Lego Ideas thing that happened. We got out of, I think it was 50 some
57, I
sets.
think.
2 got approved. 1 is still pending approval, which I don't really understand, but cool. So let's take a look at what they are now. We went over these when they were still just in the
Idea
being
phase.
considered
Mhm.
phase. So, and this first one was one that I was very, very excited about, and that's the jazz band.
One of the coolest sets I've seen.
Yeah,
in
I-
a really long time.
This is really, really terrific. I'm super excited for this one. Just wondering what's everybody's impressions of this particular model. Megan.
I cannot wait for this one to come out. This was, I know there was like tons and tons of models out here. I was really, really hoping this one would get chosen. So I was really thrilled when I saw this was selected for this go round.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Randall, what do you think?
Okay, this is because I've been out of it recently, so I did read this. So this is actually coming out.
Yes, it has been
Yeah,
approved
it's
as a
approved.
Lego Ideas model and will
That is
be on
wonderful.
store shelves probably in a year or so.
That is wonderful because I did post about it on IG, but I know in keeping with the theme of the ideas of the TV shows, when the next one we're going to talk about, that one's going to be popular. But for this one, I have not seen sets like this often from Lego officially in terms of like the figure sculpture. So I'm looking forward to this being out.
Yeah, I am too. It's a very, very different look. It's a very different style from the stuff they usually put out. And
the lines of the figures are just great. To make articulated figures that are that thin, I think is really tough.
yeah. I mean, I'm interested to see, because always there's going to be some differences between what we see in the end and what we see here. So I'm really hoping they retain the overall feel and look of it, because it's really just a beautiful model. So Blair, what do you think? Will this be on your list, or is this just an appreciate it on the screen type of thing for you?
I think it's, like you said, it's really interesting because it's such a departure from what we normally see as far as sets being offered. I feel like it was kind of a surprise. There were so many things that felt like shoe-in moneymaker sets, but I was talking with some of my coworkers at the Lego store, and we talked about how sometimes ideas that make it even to 10,000 can be problematic, especially IP ones, because there are other sets in the works that none of us know about years and years in advance. And so the possibility that there could be another Ghostbusters type of situation is pretty high with
always.
popular intellectual properties. This one in particular, like you said, the figures, I think, are just splendid. I hadn't actually gotten to the part in my thought process yet about how much might change for the final model. But I think that, I'm curious how well it's going to perform sales-wise. But as an art piece and as a mock, if it gets translated really well, I think it's going to be a beautiful piece. And it pairs nicely with our other musical offerings because it's something different, showing the liveliness of the musical performance, whereas the other ones are static musical instruments. This one brings the players into the view. So I think that it's a really nice fit for what we've been seeing lately.
One then, and also too, and I think this, and we'll touch on this more later when we get into our main discussion, but the diversity in skin tones here on on the players is wonderful. I'd love to see that.
This feels like an album cover to me, like one of those really just like cooler than cool album covers.
Well, and having lived in New Orleans for quite a while, this just says this just says New Orleans to me so much. And I love the little thing that says "You're welcome" on the side of the drum. That's very New Orleans-y.
And again, it's just so, full of life. It's one of those things where, like, if you look at it, it's not a car and in your head you can hear it, the engine revving and it going, or like a robot, or like a Lego City scene or something where you can imagine all these other things. This one, you can almost hear it, because they're so expressive. I think that's a really interesting difference from what we normally see, presented to the public. So that's
absolutely
really
cool. Moto, what do you think about this one?
I think it's really cool. I know I won't buy it, but I love the look of it.
Yeah, well, we know you're not really a set person so much. So
yeah, I only buy one maybe once every 6 months. So I'm very diligent on kind of sussing out kind of what's gonna vibe with me.
Sure.
I like the variety of ways they've expressed the hands, like the difference in the hands between the bass player and the trumpet, just like those curves versus the angled piece, and then the loops on the piano player. I think there's just a lot of really subtle bricking here.
Yeah, and each figure is built slightly differently, even though they come together as a whole. It's just beautiful the way they've rendered this thing out and put it together. I just hope it doesn't go through a medieval blacksmith shop and get really convoluted or very different by the end of it, because this is gorgeous the way it is.
Sure.
It's going to be a 6,000 piece set.
It's gonna be life size when we finally get it.
I actually think the size of it is probably one of those, at least as a proof of concept, is probably one of those boxes that it checked for Lego ideas. I feel like they're more often looking, especially if it's something that they're not, where they're obviously not going to be counting on an IP to sell it, that if it's just going to be kind of like a shelf display piece for the 18 plus genre, then they tend to look for something like smaller, that's not a 2,000 plus piece set. That's not to say they
more
couldn't
digestible.
Make it that, but this sort of checks that box that I feel like they're going down looking for when they're reviewing ideas products. It's like, okay, if it's in this category, this is the criteria, and if it's in this category, this is the criteria. This one definitely checked a lot of those boxes, and I think that's why it got approved. And I think it's amazing. This is going to be. I'm really. We're a family of musicians over here, so I'm pretty stoked about it.
It'll look great in your house. I was just thinking, this is a model of a size where you say, well, Time Life books, do I put away the Time Life collection and then I can put this on the shelf?
All right, well, moving on, we have now yet another in a long line of TV show themed idea sets, and that is The Office, which is a beloved show by many, many people. Not everybody, but a lot of people really love it. And this is now, I believe, the third or fourth iteration of this set. And they even mentioned it on the Lego Ideas site that, like, this is one that has come up over and over again, and it always gets the votes. And I guess the opportunity came up for them to produce it. So they are, this is finally going to happen.
Now, did you guys notice that there were 2 in the same round and one got rejected and one got approved?
Oh,
yeah.
Why?
I mean, that was.
I mean,
only one can win, right?
Yeah, they can only pick one. But I mean, I can only imagine. I haven't kept tabs on the community response to this, but I can only imagine there's been drama.
Sure. I mean, I think I think this will be a fun set. I think that a lot of people will really like it, and that it has a great variety of characters. I don't know if we will see this many minifigures. I will be very surprised if we get this many minifigs.
I didn't know there were that many characters in the show.
Yeah, I mean,
this is that many. It's that many characters over the lifetime of the series. Right. They probably like one of the first few seasons where a few characters hadn't popped on yet.
Yeah, I mean, I see 16 minifigs right now. That's a lot. That's even more than the Ewok Village. So whether we'll get that many is up for grabs.
That's pretty tough though, because that show is all about the characters. This is another one of those weird ones for me. Like, I loved the show, but as a set, it kind of rings kind of like the Seinfeld set for me. Was like, we watched all the Seinfeld shows, and I'd say we're moderately fans, but the set itself that it's based on is not really all that interesting.
Well, I mean, it's an office.
Yeah,
so-
like it's an office. Like I'm sure there's going to be fun parts and fun little micro builds, and there's going to be interesting things about it. But as as a whole, like to build a set of an office is not where the interest lies. It's all about those characters, and everybody has their like favorite character that they relate to. So who are
right.
they going to eliminate?
Yeah,
I
and
think it's all for me. It's all about the feels with this, right? Like I
Yes.
don't find the architecture very interesting at
Right.
all,
Right.
but I love, since I know the show, I know that hilariously embarrassing things happened in that boardroom. You
Yeah.
know? So
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot of like play with the minifigures and all that. But the
Yes.
walls, I'm kind of like, could it be any one of 14 other movie sets?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
again, I think this one is less about like and I'm sure that the Lego designers will have their way with this and make it
Mhm.
really fun and great looking and interesting. But this one is definitely one of those ones that's going to sell on nostalgia popularity.
Absolutely.
Well, here's the fun fact about The Office. So in 2020, I looked this up. In 2020, it was the #1 streaming title of the entire year, 45% ahead of the second show for streaming for COVID.
Yeah.
So that's
Wow.
the popularity you're banking on. Is that,
Yep. Yep.
This show is easily the most popular show that's going to be produced into a set. So it's gonna blast off
Crazy.
the shelves, I believe.
However, timing is always the issue, right? Like, had it have been if it was being released right now, like today, absolutely, I think it would fly off the shelves. In another year and a half ish, who knows? It's like
We'll
maybe
see.
people will have had that wave of popularity, and people will have forgotten about it, and then it's going to be like, why did they make this a set? That's also possible. So
No, I do. I see it as a generational favorite.
Yeah.
Just like Friends was a generational favorite.
Yeah.
Seinfeld
Yeah.
was a generational favorite.
That's what I was
This
going
is-
to ask. What would you say, Holly, about the Friends set in that vein?
Well, so again, that hit on kind of that peak of comeback, right? And I've got kind of I'm sort of tapped into that, like with my kids, because I notice maybe not my kids so much, but like what their friends are watching. So she was kind of commenting on how like some of her friends were getting into these shows, like, and she brought up Friends right about the time that Friends got really popular and the Friends set came out. They're done with that. And then she was telling me about, oh yeah, we should watch The Office because my friends are watching The Office, kind of like Moto was saying, over the course of 2020, that show got popular, but they're not watching that anymore. It's kind of like this new generation passing interest of I don't know what, like they're intrigued, right? By this, it's like not really for their generation, but they're kind of
just wanna
intrigued
know
by
No, I think this is a millennial set, quite honestly. That's where it's positioned.
Yeah.
maybe.
That's when it aired. It aired right in
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
millennial
I mean, I was
mindset.
it's for me. Like, I was a fan of the show, but I guess I'm like, yeah, that was a good show. However long ago, it doesn't really. I don't know that it's. I don't know. I guess
I think it's cool because there's ramifications for me. Like I do think it banks on all the figures because of all the characters.
I guess,
I
I'm, not,
could
I
have-
guess I'm not nostalgic for like my 20s, or you know what I mean? Like, nostalgia for me is stuff that I grew up with, not so much stuff that I was into as like a young adult.
Well, I mean, I feel like however we feel about it here, this is still going to be an incredibly popular set.
I
It's an
think it will be
incredibly
too.
popular show. It has staying power, and it's. I think people are going to really dig it. Megan, I'm curious, what has been the reaction to this on Brickset?
Yeah, that's what I was just about to pipe up, because I can't really speak to my own reaction because I might be one of the few people on the planet who has actually never watched an episode of the US show. Oh, good. I'm not alone. Thank you, Blair. But on Brickset, as you know, like about 40% of our audience is in the US, but also, a good chunk is from the UK because that's where they're based. A lot of the reaction of the folks in the UK is, well, if they're basing it on the US set, there's no point because the UK show was far superior, a lot more funny, and so why bother?
I kind of agree.
Yeah, there are US fans who say that the British version was better. So
I'm one of those. Yeah,
I think it's a personal choice.
It
Like, I
is.
mean, I don't want to go into my feelings between the two because I like them both for different reasons, and I
Yeah.
think that they both have their merits.
Yeah.
So, But I will
Maybe
just overall-
they release an empty office building set, and then they have a CMF series, and we're done with it, right?
Oh, there you go.
And where they did both. Oh my God, I want a Ricky Gervais right now.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, that could work, right?
I was going to mention
That
that
would be a great solution.
what makes this set exciting for me is the Hokey Bricks potential of all the different figure skin tones and expressions.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be nice to see a bunch of characters get introduced.
Okay, so this next one we've got coming up is now this one is pending approval, and I'm not sure whether it's like a parts issue or
because Disney's involved, I
It's
would
Disney.
imagine. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So this, and I've been excited about this one for a long time because this is now, I think, the second version of this by the same person that's gotten, and it's got all of the, hey, James, how's it going? Good to see ya. I am super excited about this, and I really, really hope that it passes muster because it's a beautiful set. And I'm a big fan. What are other people's thoughts on this? Oh, I guess I have to call on someone. Randall, what do you think?
Damn, I knew you was gonna call on me too. Man, what are my thoughts on this set? These type of sets seem to be doing well. I think of the Winnie the Pooh and the medieval blacksmith and these kind of mid-size like houses, I guess. In terms of the subject matter, this is probably, I'm gonna pull a Moto and say I'm probably not gonna buy this set, but I definitely see the appeal.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that this goes and passes approval. Definitely for parts, for sure.
Right. What do you think, Holly?
It's cute. I'm excited for little dwarf figures more than anything, probably.
Yep.
I love the little cottage. I can't remember the last time we really saw any sort of cottage type model like this. So, yeah, I like it. It's, maybe not my most favorite Disney, film, but yeah, I think it'll be good to add to the collection.
Yeah. I think it'll. I mean, there are lots of Disney fans out there, so some of this stuff is like a thing. Now, Doc Sampson is saying Snow White needs to be a mini doll. Well, they already have a mini doll of her.
Yeah.
So it seems kind of like a shoe-in.
I'm actually, I kind of am hoping to round out more of the proper minifig Disney figures. I definitely prefer those. So I'm kind of glad actually because they've done so many more in the Friends style mini dolls that I'm kind of excited to get more like regular minifig Disney characters.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There's one tiny detail on here I like, and I wonder if I think it's a recolor of a part, and that's on the shutters on the lower left. There's a dark tan heart.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a nice detail.
It looks olive green to me, but now that you say dark tan, I think you might be
I think it is supposed to be dark tan. It looks like a render.
Yeah, I think this is a render, which also might be part of the approval thing. It's like, can it be built in real bricks?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As it stands now, I mean, it looks like it would pair really well with the blacksmith shop. Just like you remove the Disney, just based on the design of the building. It's almost like an unofficial castle line is happening somehow through ideas.
Yeah, I think I kind of have the same feeling. Like the little dwarves and the figures would probably go in my cabinet with my other Disney figures, and then I had the exact same thought. Like this would be cool on display, like over where my blacksmith shop and castles and stuff are.
Maybe it'll come with some cool woodland critters too in system and not in Friends Disney line. And then we could get maybe a little fawn or something to go with our big deer.
Yeah.
Now there is a baby deer in the Snow Whites. It came with a small Snow White set.
But it's a Friends style animal. Yeah, it's got those weird proportions.
Blair wants them to sneak Bambi in so we can recreate Bambi. That's what he wants.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or reverse Bambi.
All right. Well, let's move on to the big subject of today. So there was a sort of I don't know. Like, I don't want to say cryptic announcement, but kind of a vague one. And I mean, having been on the LAN and seen lots of the reactions and heard sort of the thing from Lego. So Lego made an announcement this week that they are seeking to begin to remove gender bias from Lego sets, which I think is something that we can all agree on is a great thing to happen. But it was also kind of a little vague. Like, what exactly does that mean? Now, I'm not gonna be the I'm not gonna be that guy, but I'm just gonna say that I don't know. The first reactions I saw were, of course, the extremely reactionary ones where people ran directly for, they're canceling Friends. I don't understand why, when announcements like this are made, people automatically go to whatever the thing is going to be canceled and we're never going to see it again. Like, obviously, they are not going to cancel Friends. One of their big lines that's been around for a long time.
I think it shows that some people aren't very good problem solvers because obviously there are other options.
Right. I mean, there's just, but it seems like, of course, in our times of the internet and the outrage machine, everybody wants to go to whatever, like the most horrifying, solution to whatever it is.
You should buy 200 base plates because they're going to cancel base plates.
Yeah. Oh, right. Exactly.
It's almost it's as wild as someone saying they're going to put dual minifig heads. Everyone is going to have a different gender on each side.
Isn't it interesting the assumption involved in going from stop gender bias to canceling Friends? There's some serious assumptions there, right?
I think it's because I think Friends is kind of the most glaring issue of where I feel like there is gender bias, at least to me. That's always sort of how I felt about it. So
right.
It does kind of leave itself as a target, I think, when you start
as the product of gender-based market research. I can see that would be
absolutely, and things are changing. And what I've found and what in the reaction from Lego, and this is just because on the LAN they did respond. And, of course, the first thing they said is no one's canceling Friends. Cool your jets. Like, it's fine. But what they're hoping to do, as Jamae mentions right now in the chat, is that they're trying to create some balance. So now I know recently we've seen a lot more female presenting minifigures to try and balance out the sort of more male presenting minifigures, which we've seen lots and lots and lots and lots of over the years. And then in the same way with Friends, including more male mini dolls in the Friends sets. And I actually spoke to a parent the other day that said, who was actually kind of like glad about that, because he's like, my daughter, she has lots of Friends sets, and whenever they want to like have a boy character, she says like she pulls like some other, from some other line, like Playmobil or something, because she doesn't have like, the male figures to play with. Now, I would argue that it's in general in Lego more important to have more female presenting and gender neutral presenting minifigures. But I definitely know that like bringing that kind of balance into Friends would also go a long way to being, helpful.
I wonder.
Heart Lake City has been lacking for a long time.
Yeah,
it has. We've called that out. I mean, WBI does a top 10 for diversity and inclusion every year, and last year it was the top 10 of things that Lego does right, because they do a lot of things right on diversity and inclusion, but we also point out opportunities for improvement, and that's exactly one of them. Heart Lake City is female dominated, which is not a bad thing, but also not that realistic. But it's interesting to me, as a result of all the conversation that's been going on, is that everybody's focusing on Friends. And it's like, oh my goodness, there's so many women in the Friends. There's so many female mini dolls. There's not enough male mini dolls. There's no conversation about what's been going on in City, what's been going on in Star Wars, what's been going on in Ninjago. There's definitely not gender parity there. And
not at all.
Yeah. Flynn, you've mentioned it. We've got some numbers to back this up. We had our interns do some research over the summer. We took a look at all of the minifig heads that are on Bricklink as of July, and there's over 1,700 male or masculine coded heads and just over 400 feminine coded.
Now, is this over the course of all time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then did you do a comparison to like 2020?
Well, this is just we did not. Our interns have a finite amount of time, but we do have some updates. But we also broke it down by skin tone.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
If you want to create your own minifig, and we took it from the stance of if you're coming new to the hobby and you want to create a sig fig of yourself that represents you, as female presenting at the outset, you have 4 times fewer choices than if you identify as masculine. And then if you identify as a person of color, your choices are that much more, much fewer, especially as a woman, a female of color.
Well, and even beyond that, if you identify as someone who's cheerful, then your options are even more limited.
Yeah, when you're talking about like skin tones that are not yellow,
skin tones and also female presenting faces.
Yeah, I mean,
that's something where, I mean, women of color, I know I have the graph up around here somewhere because we've got it. I mean, if you're a woman of color and it was, and you want to be indicative that you're, sorry for this.
Not visibly upset.
Mairead is pointing out everything but Friends is male dominated. It's like,
if you're a woman of color and if you want to show that you're angry, there's 6 minifig heads available to you with expressions. If you want to show that you're happy, you've got 2. And if you want to show that you're smiling, you're also 2. Contrast that with a female person of color. To show that you're happy, there's 89 between the light nougat and the yellow. So there's a significant disparity. But then again, for men of the same thing, there's well over 100 options.
Right. Well, and I will note, particularly in the latest CMF line, the Marvel, the Disney Plus shows, Marvel lines, they made a point of having smiling faces on the characters, and to the point where I was a little disappointed with the Wanda figure because she's like got her crazy red eyes and like a smile. I'm like,
she's never smiling. She never smiled in that show.
I mean, like, I get it, but okay. Yeah. I just found that particular one a little odd, but still, they are, I believe, like you can already kind of see the wheels turning. Like you can already kind of see them trying to like make those steps. And, as we often talk about, things don't happen overnight, as much as we hope that they would. Yeah.
Yeah, there's somebody else in the comments that I wanted to address. What they brought up it's definitely about what Megan said, because I had to do some research just for stuff that I wanted to, and I saw that those limited options as I was scrolling through Bricklink. But it's also the builds and like kind of the situations and the stories that are in these sets. Just growing up, I can see it in my mind's eye. Like I can see like a car shop, like somebody going to a mechanic, but the mechanic is male, right? The person that's going to get the car service is woman or female presenting. Thinking about like damsels in distress type of thing when it comes to Western sets from way back. So, that type of trope. So, and I notice a little bit of a turn in some of the city sets when I see the truck drivers female presenting, right? And seeing those type of things that happen in real life, right? And having that finally represented in the set. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of those situations and those stories being told through the
that's
set.
one way to do it, but fundamentally, my hope is that we'll see a cross-pollination of what you build. So in other words, city has to be more than police, fire department, mechanic, all that stuff. We need bakeries. So we need the type of stuff that's in Friends, minifigged over and transported to city with the colors that make sense in the palette.
Yeah, and I feel like they even kind of figured it out with Friends, right? Because they've even done like the mechanic shop in Friends, and they've done a little bit of what they do in city in Friends, but they don't do as much as what they do in Friends in city.
The other big thing that I think should, is probably going to get tuned and adjusted, I'd hope, is Ninjago. I want to see more than just the token Nia thrown in there. I want to see kind of a greater balance in the Ninjago line where, there could be a more evenly distributed team. But that would be really cool and interesting, is that, Ninjago has this long staying power, just like Friends does.
Yeah.
And then both of those, are geared toward a specific gender market. But if you start to blend them up and mix them in, I think that's going to be great for any child to, do what they want to do. If you want action and you love the crazy dragons and all that, or even Monkey Kid, if you like all this stuff, or whatever city, if they're going to the super volcano or it's the ice frozen zone, how they mix the jump themes as well. The jungle, was it jungle, frozen, volcanoes, and I forget what it is, but there's a number that they hop across every year and reinterpret. But mixing that up too would be really, really interesting. And hopefully some more bathrooms in city as well.
Yeah,
no one can take a shower.
A burning question, but there's something that has to happen first.
Yes, we are going to come back to this, but right now it is time for the pause that refreshes. Yes, everybody, it is everybody's favorite Logan cookie time.
Logan broke down the door, basically. There you go.
Yay, Logan. Hi, buddy.
Okay, say hi to everyone.
Yay. And one more. He always gets 3.
Okay.
Up here.
Can you catch it?
Up here.
Good boy.
Yay, Logan. And it looks like we have everybody's favorite Muppet dog. It's Skittles. Hi, Skittles.
Good boy.
Hi, everybody.
The calmest dog ever. And
right.
And Megan, who do we have here?
This is Chadwick.
Hi, Chadwick. Oh, it's so cute. What kind of dog are they?
He's a Jack Russell Terrier mix. We just adopted him about a year and a half ago from a rescue.
Very
smart.
cute.
Does he get into all kinds of trouble? They're
He
really
does.
smart.
He is absolutely a Jack Russell Terrier.
Awesome. Splishy and Splashy are here. Very good.
They're still alive.
Trolls. We have a troll.
Troll.
Business person troll, it looks like.
Spooky troll. June made
Everybody.
this one.
Oh, she's awesome. I love her spider dress. Is so good. All right, everybody. That has been Logan Cookie Time. All right.
I have a question for the panel. I don't know the answer to this, and it's not really a fully formed thought, but here's where I'm going. So I understand that Friends was developed out of market research. They asked a lot of children, they asked a lot of girls, what do you want to see in a set? And I don't know all the questions. And Friends was developed. So it's a 2-part question. My first question is there something less than about the builds in Friends? Is it less than City in any way? Because people rip on Friends a lot. And second of all, is there something flawed in the kind of market research that results in Friends as opposed to City? And can we ask different questions to have the worlds blend more?
I think
Holly, what do you think?
Yeah, I think if they were only, or even majority wise, only asking girls, then I'd say that there's a flaw in the system. I don't think they should be asking any one homogenous group what they would like to see in a theme. I think that's the wrong direction, personally. Like, I realized that what they were trying to do was fill a gap where they noticed that girls were not enough of a target demographic for them, and that's what they were trying to resolve. But I think instead of trying to create a theme for that gap, I feel like they should have just been figuring out ways to invite girls to play with an already existing system. And I think that's the problem. It's like, I feel like Lego's in a position where they can kind of lead the toy industry, and they fell for the same tropes that every other toy company is doing, which is that there's a girl aisle and a boy aisle. And they were like, we don't have Lego products on the girl aisle, and they thought that was the problem, and the solution was to put Lego products on the girl aisle. And I think that they need to be the leaders in kind of destroying that idea of there needing to be separate aisles. That's my opinion.
But I feel like that's what they are trying to do, and
they are now. But I think Friends was came about at a time when they realized that there was, like, they had tried doing Scala and Belleville and all these other things to kind of make products for girls, but it felt so far removed from the Lego system. Like, it was a different product. And girls were kind of like, well, why would I buy a Lego type doll when I could just buy Barbie? You know what I mean? So their solution was to make, take their Lego system product and package it for girls. And that's what kind of brought them back to the table. But now that we've established girls do like to build and do like construction toys just as much as boys, I think now's an opportunity to blend it a little bit more together and do away with the girl aisle and boy aisle.
Yeah, it was a question of timing as well. I mean, Friends
Exactly.
really was developed for girls, and they put a ton of money into that thing. It was a huge amount of cost to develop and invest in that program. I remember when they launched Friends, they put the dollar value of what they put into the theme, and it was ridiculous. The amount of effort to just address, toys for young girls, which is great at the time. But now we live in an age where Target has started to eliminate the gender in their aisles. They've eliminated that, and there was a big uproar about it. But we're at this point, and so Lego is pushing their toy line now in that mindset, where the retailers are starting to be more thoughtful about how they present toys. So I don't see what the big deal is anymore. I think we're at that point now where we can evolve into having all the Lego lines have still retained their vision of what they are, but also just diversify the gender components and what is being built. In other words, what are the types of sets that are going to be included? Not just the figures, which is great because everybody's focusing on minifigs, but it's beyond the figures for me. It's what are you actually building? What is the set? What is the brief? What are you actually creating?
Yeah, I don't know what it's like where you are, but Mairead brings up a good point. Like, I was just at Target the other day, and they may have taken the sign down that says boy aisle, girl aisle, but it is still 100% divided.
Ours is too. Yeah.
Well,
I have seen stores where it isn't, where you just have all your Lego in one aisle. But I think when they get to the point where it's a 2-aisle, inventory, they have to separate it somehow. And just by default, because that stupid packaging, man, I really think 80% of the issue is with the packaging, really. And because they make those packages, pink, purple, pastel, whatever, that's just visually going to end up on a separate aisle.
Yeah, that's what's going to be the most interesting is the artwork for the sets and how that transforms over time. That's going to be a big undertaking for them. But sounds like they're willing to do it, so I'm cool with it.
Going back to the creation of Friends to begin with, I actually came across a copy of something that Lego had done on a test version back in the 90s of what they were going to call Lego Friends, and it looks amazingly like what eventually came out for Lego Friends some dozen years later. But I think the need to have a Lego Friends to begin with is a result of Lego's own marketing campaign over the previous 20 years. We've all seen those old ads from the 70s where it's a little girl holding her creation and talks about all the different things you can do with Lego, that boys and girls both love these different things. You can do it all. They got away from that for 20 years. And, part of the reason they had a gap in their audience is it's because it's of their own making.
Yeah.
You take a look at catalogs that Lego put out over the course of those 20 years. Very rarely, actually, do you have people in those catalogs. They've only really just started introducing that within the last couple of years. But if they did have people in them, it would be predominantly boys. So they're doing a much better job of mixing things up. The Dots line campaign is a great example of that, where you see really equal representation of the genders. But I see it as really playing catch up. And to answer one of Richard's questions, Friends builds, I think, are fantastic.
I do too. Agreed.
I just built the school. Wasn't my favorite set, but there was no pink and purple in it. And it just, if you didn't have, like Holly said, that pastel colored box, you would probably, of course, except for the mini dolls, you'd never know it was a Friends set. But I also just built the hotel, and the building techniques to build the windows, I would put right up there with a modular.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just missing
Well-
friends because they don't think it's advanced or missing out on a really good line.
100%.
I think Friends has some of the best play functions.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Well, but
Well, 'cause
I just think it's cool because
That's the idea, though. Girls, which just wanted to point out another comment before it goes too far by. Somebody else I think it was Joel, was pointing out how differently his kids play, and my kids are the same. I have a girl and boy, and the main difference is how they play. Not that they'll necessarily not play with the same thing, but you can give them the same thing to play with it, and they play with it differently. Whereas, the girls really do like to role play and that kind of thing often, the most. So it makes sense that they put all these really cool little play features in the Friends sets. That's
well, I was
you're
just
catering to your audience.
I was going to bring that up, and I wanted to kind of to touch on this, especially with Blair, because we are both are and have been Lego educators for kids. And I know we actually brought this up a long time ago on one of the shows, and we sort of got into this a little bit, but yes, I absolutely have experienced that. And with my job, I don't go, here's a box of pink bricks, and now here's a box of all the other color bricks. So make something. It's just a giant box full of every color kind of brick, like anything that you want to use. And definitely my experience has been that generally the girls, when they make their builds, and these are the same age kids, will be much more about making the inside of the house detailed or the castle or whatever it is that they're making. And the boys generally tend to look at bigger picture, and the girls are more focused on details. What was your experience with that, Blair?
I don't know. I was always kind of blown away by how free kids can be in their building. I do recall there being a lot of more, if I'm going to take your example, a lot more interior designed houses on the fem end of the spectrum, and more exterior focused stuff on the other end of the spectrum. But what blew me away was, what is to me an obvious reason to start to destroy this division is that there were femme kids who would build just as intricate and deadly of trap dungeons as male presenting kids, and they were oftentimes really well thought out with amazing play features. And I just to have these days come down where they're this small group of girls had built this whole death dungeon, and they call it something totally macabre, and have swinging axes and blades that come out of the floor and trapdoors and all these different things. It showed that while I really side with what Megan was saying, they needed to do this sort of destroy it from the inside approach, right? Because they had built these walls around the brand themselves, right? Lego had sort of pigeonholed themselves as a boys' toy, just through their own marketing and product availability. And like Holly said, Scala and Belleville, while they have their merits, especially for us adult builders looking back on them, there are cool things about them. I remember my sister got one set, and I was the one who ended up with some of the pieces from it because it was a glorified dollhouse and it didn't go anywhere. And to have to come out very loudly and say, as a company, wait, we can do this again, and we can do it better, and we can actually offer, the femme mind these sets specifically designed to attract them, to try and bring that attention to our brand as something that can be good and can be well done and well designed for that specific market niche, right? That market divide that's been created from not just Lego, but the whole patriarchy in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
This whole division, which actually I was reading a really funny thing the other day about how pink and blue were opposite gendered colors for a long time until someone decided in the mid last century, actually it's the other thing. And now everyone can believe that.
But it is what it is now,
Right, exactly. And that's where we're coming from, right? It is what it is now. And these decisions, which may seem wayward at one point, we're part of this systemic issue.
Yeah.
And now it's so cool to see Lego openly saying, like, we're going to do better. Like, because Friends was already doing better in a way, even though it was so heavily designed with that binary in mind. It also was the first time they offered something that was like, no, we value you as builders. And I've always said that that's the best thing about it. It's like, yes, there's problems. I'm not going to shy away from some of those issues, but it was the first time that Lego had really succeeded in saying, like, we made these for you and they're just as good as our other offerings.
Yeah.
And
so it's an improvement. It's kind of almost like that separate but equal mentality, right? And it has improved, but I feel like it's been around a while. It's been around, for more than a decade. I think it's time to evolve.
It's proven. It's proven that Lego is for everyone, right? That's why we have this amazing adult collector, 18 and up style, building techniques line as well. And I have people come into the store and they get a little overwhelmed by everything. And I'm like, no, like, anyone can build any Lego in the store. It's just a matter of, do you have the time and attention span? Do you have the space? Do you have the funds? Is that the kind of thing you want to build? And so to hear that they're going to make this conscious effort to be better about diversity and to be better about gender inclusion, it's awesome.
Well, yeah.
It's like,
so as a parent,
a super exciting time to be working for them. So
yeah, as a parent, I tried to raise my son with no gender bias to the toys. If he wanted to play with dolls, that was cool. And, I would explain all the toys and walk all the aisles. And he loved collecting friends and elves. That was two of the major themes he had growing up because of that. But I was swimming upstream. So for a lot of parents, I think they're only looking for permission. And I think by Lego making this announcement, that's what they're doing, is they're going to start saying, you do have permission, girl or boy, to buy this set or this set or this set or this set. So that's the big change for me, is it won't be just in a small way, but to the average parent, it's going to be, they're going to have that permission to buy any toy for their child and not worry about them getting made fun of or whatever it is that they think that they have to do. Because I don't think the average person thinks about it as deeply as we are here, but just having that permission and making that shift is going to be a pretty cool thing.
I'd say actually beyond permission, I feel like parents need encouragement.
They do. And I also, one thing I want to say, like, parents can do everything that they can do to try and help and make this okay, but we cannot discount peer pressure.
Yeah.
That's eventually what happened is, my son started to hang out with all of his friends, and then that's where, that average takes over, and so he starts to trend more toward the boys' toys.
Yeah, because we're not living in but we're not living in a vacuum, right? Like, we're not living in a place where that your kids are only influenced by what you do and show to them. They are influenced by other people's kids who may not have the same values that you do, or may not have the same open mind that you do, or may not have the same diversity that you do.
Yeah, it's funny because you can put a half a dozen kids together that are all raised by families in relatively the same way, and they are in an environment with another half a dozen kids, and forget it. It's like almost out the window, right? Like, it's all bets are off.
This is interesting. Seems like this is focused more on encouraging boys to reach out to traditionally girls' toys because there's less stigma when girls choose to play with boy toys.
I hope that's not the case. Like I said, I hope it's just more blended, where Lego gets away from trying to market to femme or masculine. Like, I think see them blend.
I think Lego's intentions are good, and I think they are looking for that blend. But I think that comment is true at its core, because
it's actually citing market research, which was that I had read on some people's response to this, that kids do perceive there to be a difference, going one direction and the other, and that that traditionally boy toys are seen as more acceptable going the other gender direction.
Yes.
which makes sense.
So I'm so like I know that we're talking about a lot of, because this has been mainly focused on gender diversity, but I want to kind of go back to the skin tone diversity as well. And I it's interesting to me because, of course, at this point, the yellow minifigure head, we have a skeleton now, but we had the one back there, like that's iconic. Like you see that and you're like, oh, Lego yellow. Like there's a reason that yellow is the main color at the Lego store on the signs, right? Like that is iconic. I don't know.
Exhibit A.
I don't know that we will ever see the complete end of the yellow minifig because it is so iconic and it is their brand. But I really, really, really hope that we will start to see more skin tone diversity outside of IP.
I've heard whispers, and I'm just going to say what I've said for a long time, which is I think that the way to rectify that is two things. And this is just my own personal opinion, obviously. But one is you can take City and other, all already non-flesh tone lines, and you can offer their traditional, yellow heads, and you can give a full set of varied gendered and skin tone heads as well. And you can make your outfits so that they can go either way, so that they don't have, yellow skin showing at the collar, and or start providing sets that have, more flesh tone bodies that match the other things, because there are, outfits that reveal skin immediately become problematic. And the second thing is some sort of build a minifig or minifig expansion pack that offers you some kind of diversity in its own right. And it's a completely separate thing, and it's inexpensive, and it allows you to build your world's diversity without having to even buy into a set or buy anything specific. It's just like, hey, here are my lovely accessories. Here are, a whole bunch of flesh tone heads, and, you give the full spectrum, right? So obviously still the caucasity will rise, right? Over time, but to get that diversity rising at an even greater rate than it can now, even with, getting 3 people of color in an awesome CMF line, you're going to be able to get non-specific characters without license prices at a rate that will start to fix the diversity issue very rapidly. Or like a build your own minifigure online, especially I think for people to build sig figs of themselves. Like if you had a Citizen Brick, like printing offerings and a menu, and you could be like, hey, okay, it's going to take like 5 to 7 weeks or whatever, because things are slow. But like, if you could say, I want this pad print on this color face with this body, with this color flesh, like, and you could start to fix that.
Well, Blair, do you think that that's where they're going with those machines that they're starting to introduce to the Lego stores?
I think it would be awesome if that was where it was going. I think that, despite the pillow invasion, that we would see a lot of progress really fast. And it would be really fun. I think that way people would be able to find the characters they're looking for and the message. Hello, June. And the message of, our real world, right? Representing our real world. So much easier than what we have to deal with now.
And if that was more accessible, I feel like you would hear a lot less complaint too of like, if they had a wide variety of skin tones available and it was like a pick your own, expression and print your own figure. If that was widely accessible, I think it would be a lot less complaining of I can't find a part or minifig that I relate to, Yeah.
And you could do it with hair too,
Body
hair,
type, especially hair.
things like
hair
to grow.
I still can't find my hair, y'all. It's really frustrating.
Well, I mean, I
no
know.
average. What?
I hear you.
Blair, what you said just made me think of just even throwing it back to like the build your own minifigures in the stores. Like all of those heads are yellow.
Yeah.
Right. So
Which
that
just
seemed like that'd be
exponential yellow population growth, right? Like
Right.
we're never going to be able to change that. The fact that there are already so many yellow established figures, and that's fine because people are going to want to stick with that, and we're just going to have to kind of let it be for now, you know,
think
and
that's
because there are
fine. I
people
think
that choose to build one way or the other.
I don't get the sense that people are demanding that they do away with the yellow. I think most of what I'm hearing is we just want more options.
Right.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Because once you say that there's something that exists other than yellow, you've immediately, you know, you've taken off the veil that was the neutral of yellow, right?
Exactly. And they tried for the longest time to make it exclusive to the IP, right? It's like they were letting the IP make that call. Or the IP owner was making that call of which skin tones and anything that Lego made that's, you know, as outside of that was always, you know, yellow, you know, was default yellow. But it's like you said, once you cross that line, like you've gotta try and keep it in balance.
And because that line had technically been crossed by themselves in the past, if you look back at like
many
Native
times.
Americans and things like that, you know, like they're well aware that yellow means something, just like the Simpsons know that yellow means something.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
And I wouldn't, you know, and the thing is the Red Indians gets brought up a lot, and I've had that discussion with a lot of people, including Native Americans, or well, one family of Native Americans that I know, and I think it's a tough thing because I think their head is in the right place where they do want more representation, right? Like that's what they were trying to offer with something like the Red Indians, and they only had so many colors to work with at that point, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they thought that they were doing the right thing by saying, hey, here's something, you know, now you can have Native American figures in your collection. How cool is that? And it just didn't, you know what I mean? And I don't even know if at that time there was, if any, you know, there was outrage about it because that was what, 30 years ago or something. But now, of course, it's now like a stain on, you know, their history. And I don't want
it's an example, you know,
I don't want them to stop trying to, like, I would rather that they try and fail or maybe try and make mistakes and keep trying and trying to do better rather than just not try at all.
Yeah.
Well, isn't this like, I feel like this is a case where Friends is way in front of all the other lines.
Oh,
like they have so much cool hair and so many cool figures.
And the diverse skin tones.
And packaging.
As of 2018, I mean, they did a refresh of the skin tones of Friends in 2018, which met with a lot of consternation at the time and pushback, but it's much more representative, and they're doing I've really been encouraged to see the number of diversity of skin tones in the Friends. It's even gotten better even over the course of the last couple of years.
That's what I was going to say too. You know, it's like that Friends is a perfect example of the fact that you can change something, right?
Yes.
Like none of this stuff is set in stone. It's just it's set in ABS plastic, which can be melted down and remade into something else, or you can just mix up the bricks, right? Like Lego's all about change and building on what you've made. So just make it better, right? Only the best is good enough is the slogan. So we just
there's somebody in the comments that made or articulating a couple points. What did they say? They said, I love the yellow minifig because it's not a realistic skin tone. Everyone's the same, just everyone has the same height and weight. And then I also asked, wondering why should Lego beat the real world? I would say to that, well, a couple of points of practicality. They started offering minifigs with wheelchairs in them.
Yep.
Right. And then they also are starting to put out minifigs with different heights of legs. Right. So that begs the question to the guy that's commenting, where's the line for you? Why is the line not for those things, but for the color of the heads? I would pose that question.
So Megan, I'm curious, do you have any numbers on like more like disability stuff, like wheelchairs? I know there's a hearing aid character, like there's a minifig head with a hearing aid now. Does Women's Brick Initiative have any numbers on those types of things?
Not yet. It's something that we're tracking for next year, but it's also something as part of our diversity. I mean, there was a hearing aid last year. This year in the Friends line, there's a visually impaired mini doll that came up twice. They've had some older individuals. There's having people in wheelchairs. So it's one of our future areas of research. We focused a lot on gender and skin tone diversity over the course of the last couple of years, but
Right.
It's on the list. And I'll also make a plug that if anybody watching has a topic they would like us to research, please contact me and let us know. Because we do have an intern program that we run every year, and we're always looking for projects to research.
Well, it's interesting too, because I've, growing up and seeing the, like, I don't know, the evolution of the marketing to the queer community has changed hugely over the last 20 or 30 years, right? Like,
or even 5 years.
Well, and 5 years too, absolutely. But
Yeah.
what, I guess, and this kind of goes back to now I can't remember who made the point, but actually we were talking about seeing Lego try to do things. Like, I have seen Lego, especially in the last year, try harder to put their words into action than I've seen any company do in years. Like, there are many companies who will, like, they'll put words into action for Black History Month or Gay Pride Month for that month, and then it's done and that's over. Right?
I have never seen more beer ads than during Pride.
Yeah, rainbow beer ads.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, I haven't seen, and yes, maybe they, yes, they've made mistakes, and yes, like, every single action they make is not amazing, and yes, the wheels do turn slowly, but what I see is them putting their actions or their words into action in a way that I don't see a lot of other.
And even the fact that I love the idea. I love that they tell us, like, this is something we're working on. Like, they didn't come out with a whole bunch of, the reason we don't know is because they don't know yet. They haven't told us how, because they probably don't know how yet. Like, I'm sure it's something they're looking into and researching, but I love that they are letting us know that. Or same thing with, like, the sustainability and the packaging. They're like, this is something that's coming down the pipe. It's something we're working on. They know it turns slowly, but I love that they keep us informed.
Yeah,
I think it's amazing. Yeah.
They made a statement. It's not like a full press release, but like they said, like, we have acknowledged the problem and we're working on it.
And how amazing is that? Because then they're being held accountable.
100%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's true. If you say that your door is going to fall down when the explosion happens, it better fall down when the explosion happens.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying we learned our lesson. Like, we learned our lesson.
If you're going to say your bridge is going to be stable, then it better be stable.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just glad to see them, like you were saying, like, saying something's going to happen, and while it may happen slowly, we've started to see those things happen, right?
By the way, I love that build with the door.
Yeah, they're so smart. They're doing a lot of things right. Like Megan said, there's always room for improvement, but I think as long as they're acknowledging it and there's an ongoing conversation and they're listening to their customers, like, they're pretty much doing it right, Yeah,
and to give Lego more credit on that one, Alice and I, who we run WBI together, we actually have regular meetings with Lego. And we meet with them 2 to 3 times a year. We share with them our research, and they're always really interested in it. They ask for copies of our slides. We know they share that with their staff, and not just their diversity and inclusion staff, like other folks, their designers.
Right.
The Rebuild the World campaign, that's, get the world ready for girls. They partnered with us. Some of the builds that you see in those commercials were designed by WBI members.
Nice.
So they're really trying. So it's one of those things that I wanted to make the point that we talk about ways that they can improve, but it's a really awesome hobby that we all have. And it's really refreshing to be having to work with a company that's open to hearing all that feedback.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, and it's in their best interest too. It's like you're doing a lot of work for them. Of course, they're grateful for it because they know that going this direction, they're going to continue to grow their customer base.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing what the result of this announcement is going to be. Like, how is this going to play out in real time? What are those improvements going to look like? And I really hope to see. I don't know. I know for me personally, like when it comes to the skin tone issue, I just did a commission project where I had to provide like a dozen matching minifigures, and the client really wanted to use a realistic skin tone rather than the yellow, and I wasn't able to do it. Like I wasn't able, at least in the time that was given, I wasn't able to source, in particular, the arms and hands.
Yep.
Yes.
In the color that I needed in time.
Yeah.
And that was hard. Like I felt bad. Like and also it's interesting trying to explain to someone who's not necessarily in the hobby why that is.
Yeah.
Was difficult, and I found myself apologizing a lot for something that I have nothing to do with. Like, I'm really sorry that I'm sorry that it's this way, and but I was also in the same sentence able to say, however, this is something that they are looking at and working on, and hopefully we will see more changes towards that in the future.
Yeah,
is my hope. And what was funny too is I don't know. I definitely have I am mixed race, but I do know that I also present as white, right? Like most people assume that I'm white. And for many years, that's how I saw myself. Like if I was going to make a sig fig of myself maybe 10 years ago, I was choosing from the skin tones available, I probably would have chosen the white person skin tone. And then I think it was and I've pretty much gone for a yellow skin tone, and even on Lego Masters they gave me the traditional white person skin tone as well. And it wasn't until we got a gift from Gwyneth's son on our anniversary, and it was brickheads that he had made of us to celebrate our anniversary. And he made my figure with the medium nougat skin tone. And I was like, this is, I don't know. It was weird. It was a weird point of realization for me. And I know that sounds odd because, I grew up with my family. I know what my family looks like. I know what they are. But yeah, here it is right here. Like he specifically made me, darker than Richard, which you
are. It doesn't really show on camera, but you are actually pretty dark.
In person, it's more.
Yeah, in person, it's definitely different. We've got the lights and everything, but it was interesting that in that way of seeing yourself and that way of self-discovery that you see through somebody else's eyes.
Yeah.
What also means that you were making assumptions you didn't realize you were making.
Exactly. And I really, I assume that people just assume that I'm white, but a kid saw the difference, right? Like saw through, and it really changed the way I felt about myself and how I would represent myself as a minifig. And when we made our friends mini dolls. Now, admittedly, this one's probably a little darker than me, but when we made our mini doll sig figs, like that was definitely something that I thought about. So thank you, Orson, for that.
or he just ran out of tan bricks.
And I gotta say,
Holly, that really just brought the whole thing down.
I'm kidding.
I also want to give some props to Gwyneth.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think I think that just points to a bigger point of self-representation and wanting to see yourself represented in a particular way, and how you can represent yourself, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm curious, Randall, now when we were on, and also Moto, when we were on Lego Masters, they had us send them pictures of our like our sig figs, and then they based the ones that we were on the show around what we had sent them for the most part. I'm curious what that process was like for you. And
we had a very different experience with our figures in season 1.
Okay, do tell.
Do you want to go first, Randall?
No, you got it, dog.
We're both like kind of dancing around the subject because it was a bit uncomfortable. So, due to whatever logistical reason, they built our figures on set from a generalized pool of figure parts that were brought in.
Oh.
So there was no custom ordering and bespoke craftsmanship put into our figures. It was on the spot, and we met with a guy, and they did their best to assemble a figure that was representative. But, the struggle is real. Like, to be there with Paris and they're not finding anything that matches, that is a problem.
Yeah.
To the point where they had to do a little bit of custom execution on his figure just to make it, decent enough for the production.
Right.
When we were on, I think every head that was available was yellow.
Oh, well, just like in the brick pit. Yeah, absolutely. There was
no, this was outside of the pit. This was something where they went and just gathered as many figure components as they could into a container, and then you would meet with the person to attempt to assemble a sig fig. I'm surprised they didn't ask for, I sent mine along to casting just because I was like, Ramsden did this last time. Let's give Justin a little boop by putting the Hokey list together for him so he can get a good starting point. But I don't know, Randall, for you and Sarita, when your team went in there, how difficult was that? Because it was tough.
Well, I just saw the minifig. I don't think I did any consulting other than them seeing pictures of us and then they put it together. I would echo a point that was made earlier in the discussion about hair. Shortly before I started engaging with the whole thing, I cut this part in it. Previously it was just this, but I cut this in it. Obviously, there's no piece in the Lego catalog for that. So they had to find the next best thing, which is fine. But for somebody like Sarita, who was very, I won't say underrepresented, I would say underinvested in the Lego community, her being a Black woman, very few are options for somebody like her. So it is oftentimes, I don't mean to pick on him, but the same guy the comments that I mentioned earlier, it is a privilege to be able to see yourself in a hobby like this and to have these options available as opposed to somebody that doesn't. And so because of that, you kind of seeing that, having that experience, that small kind of micro experience, just okay, this is to be expected. I'm not surprised that there's no hair like this. I'm not surprised that there's only 2 Black mini head figures that are smiling out of the entire catalog of Lego minifig heads. So, for what it's worth, somebody like Hokey really did a really good job in representing both casts and anybody.
He did an amazing job.
Yeah.
Amazing job. Well, he's brilliantly talented.
He's doing it with the resources that he has. So I'm looking forward to Lego doing more of that as well.
Yeah. So for me, and part of that was COVID stuff and this, that, and the other, I'm sure, and the logistics of it all. But yeah, it was a very different type of figure production on ours than yours. That is a difference.
Well, and I think too, we've talked a lot about diversity in gender and diversity in skin tone, and we've talked about some disability stuff, but I also age is definitely another place where there is. I know,
yes, especially.
Yeah, I mean, I know, like when we were first kind of trying to put Richard's minifig together, like his choices were either the stud sticking out on the top, or a comb over, or Alfred the Butler with, like, you know, professor hair and a comb over. Like, that was the choice.
I'll reveal to you right now, I actually cried when I first saw my minifig on Lego Masters.
Oh, no.
I love the shirt that they did and the pants and everything, but they took my face and they put Alfred the Butler's hair on, and, you know, I'm 55, I'm not 75. And I just thought, this is the way everyone who doesn't know me is going to see me on TV.
Yep.
And I was very sad, and I talked to the producers and got them to take off, you know, and just make it an empty stud, and I felt much better about that.
Yeah.
And so in my little way, I haven't come across that a whole lot, but in my way, that was like, I don't feel represented there. I feel like you're aging me, like the limits. I don't expect them to have every single hairstyle, but I did have that moment of, that is not me, and please don't represent me like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because it's like, you're either, you know, and when you put our two minifigs together before they changed them, it was like we were father and son.
I was your granddad.
I know, it was really weird. And, you know, and I had a hard time finding a hairpiece that had just like a little bit of gray in it, right? Like, it was either completely gray, grandma hair, or it was, you know, a solid color. So
yeah, I think that's why we were so excited about that figure in the Friends set that had the gray hair, but she was like really cool. I forgot what her name was.
Like a kooky hairdo, but it was in gray.
Yeah, it's one of my like favorite hair pieces ever.
It is a pretty cool hairpiece.
Yeah.
I love this idea in the age of 3D printing and customization and all that. I love the idea of build a minifig that can actually have more options, and then they make it and they send it to you. How exciting is that?
Yeah, that's
what I
cool.
mean. Yeah, like that solves a lot of problems. I mean, that's an infrastructure that would take some time, you know, to build, but they have some of the components in place already. So
you mean Lego officially?
Yeah. Where you can just order from their website, like, you know, pick a head, pick whatever color, you know, headpiece, and then, you know, have like a library of expressions, and basically just custom order your own little minifigs. And it's like build your own sig fig kind of thing. And then you can just order like I mean, I'm sure they would be expensive. Like, it's going to end up being like Citizen Brick, where you're paying $20 a figure or something, but it's still an option to give you to populate, you know, your world with diverse characters however you want.
Yeah,
and the hairpieces, though, the hairpieces are always going to be the challenge, right? Like, where you still got to pick, like, still you pick the mold, you pick the color. If that was an option,
well, no, there's
difficult, but
I mean,
you know.
I've always wanted, even the clothing, you know, is for me, it's like, I just have a hard time with clothing, because I think about like, if you wear a hijab, what do you put on your figure?
Right.
There's no option for you. And that's a huge segment of the population of Earth. Or India, modern India is represented, but not perfectly. Or, you know, so I think they're making great strides, but that's going to be, you know, an exciting day for really getting, you know, beyond the Western culture as well. Because I do think there's a ton of Western culture influence.
Yeah,
just apart from skin tones, but the clothing as well.
For the characters from the Harry Potter Advent calendar last year were great for that reason.
Yeah,
because you got they had the twins in there with the darker skin tone, and they looked like they were wearing saris. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What if they did a United Nations CMF set?
That'd be cool.
I was just thinking, what if they did like a world map, or if the globe had minifigures from around the world or something like that? That would be really cool.
Yeah.
You get all those custom outfits.
Yeah, that stuff. That's something my daughter is really has not really ever been hugely into Lego, but that's the stuff that she's into. Like, she's really interested about and she's 13, you know, and she wants to know more about the world, and she's really into diversity, and that's the stuff that gets her interest. Like, the only Lego set she's wanted in the last 5 years is the world map, and she wants to customize it. You know?
I mean, Lego is known for encouraging science. It's just anthropology hasn't been a focus, you know, when I think about it. Just on
there's an audience. I mean, there's a young audience there for that.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen like very little of it, and it's usually very traditional. Like I know they had like the guy with the lederhosen on and the girl with the dirndl. Like they had that was kind of, you know, that was a thing, but you didn't really see a whole lot. You know, you have the British police officer, and you had like the palace guard. But beyond those kinds of things,
I'm just saying beyond the United States or Europe, it's hard for me to think.
Still very Eurocentric. Yeah.
It's hard for
and
me
when we
to
had
kind
like the Aztec Mayan type stuff, they had yellow faces.
Right.
Right.
Going back to, I think, an idea that Moto was talking about, you know, having more offerings in Ninjago and other sets. I just wonder about a cross-pollination between the themes, like a franchise of a veterinarian, you know, opens up, like Heart Lake City opens up a shop in City, or there's a yogurt shop in Ninjago or something, and it's just like, if they opened up a shop in this other theme, what would that look like?
Well, yeah, but you want to stay core to whatever that theme is. I mean, it needs to be guided under the art direction in the appropriate way.
Exactly.
So
like the veterinarian.
That's where my head goes of expectations is, you know, like what would, you know, like a more elves style dragon look like in Ninjago?
Right.
Or what if there was a
ninja?
dragon sanctuary in Ninjago with little baby Ninjago dragons for all the different Ninjago
or
dragons?
Something, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of just crazy twists you can start bringing to bear in a lot of these themes where, and even people who love to build city layouts, I mean, who wouldn't want, you know, just a touch more architectural diversity in what's brought in there.
That's probably one of the biggest comments that I get when I do friends reviews for Brickset is, I wish we had something like this for City. Because of just the diversity. I mean, Moto was talking about this earlier. They've got, you know, the bakeries, there's the schools, there's, you know, they have more restaurants, and not all of them are pink and purple. Actually, very few of them are actually pink and purple. But that's the biggest thing is, I wish we had these in cities. So,
but then again, it's like, well, then what's stopping you from populating your city?
Well, exactly. That's usually the response. That's what mocks are for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, I guess the only thing you have to do to open a Heart Lake veterinarian in City is set it on fire.
Or have somebody burglarize it.
No, I mean, the Friends should have a fire department. It should,
and a police
department. Well, in a hospital and all the first responders.
Well, they do.
But you don't want it to be
have a hospital. They do.
Have two.
They've had a couple.
We have a hospital,
but I think they have far more vets than they have hospitals.
Yeah, they have a lot of vets.
But no, I mean, shouldn't
Heart Lake City
there
are very healthy.
I mean, to be fair, there are a lot of animals in Heart Lake City.
There are.
But shouldn't there be like a, you know, the dog park or the vet in City? I mean, that does make sense.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
there are a lot of things.
There is somewhere where I would love to see some, you know, I don't know. I would like to see animals that you could use in either. I mean, you can use either, but as you were mentioning earlier, like the Friends style animals are definitely different than the City style animals. Like the City styles are a little bit more realistic, and the Friends ones are a little more cutesy pie with eyelashes and big eyes, and you know,
that's what I mean. You can take
rainbow colors.
You can take your cues, but what you're actually constructing, the property of what that is, I think, starting to span over and make it a little bit more, you know, not focused on one gender would be really cool. Also, I've always wondered, why isn't there like a mayor? Have they ever done like a government center, like a town hall for City or Friends?
For City, they have.
Okay.
Haven't they?
What about Friends?
Yeah.
Like,
well, modular building they did. There's a
that's what I'm thinking of. The modular.
No, but they did have. Remember, they had like the corncob mayor or something like that.
That's
City has that one.
Years ago, Holly, on City, they had like a mayor somebody. Yeah, I remember that.
And it was like a city center kind of town square thing. But Friends, I don't think they had any government.
Yeah, the Friends has no governance.
Yeah.
I love it. See, that's my
My friends just read it all.
You know what? Actually, let's just keep it that way.
They're a utopian society.
I love
I don't
it.
know. Friends is starting to give me a Why the Last Man vibe now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the next challenge theme for the Tricula community, is to come up with dystopian why the Last Man Earth Friends situation of what does that look like.
So
What a
somebody
rabbit
was
hole.
saying Fabuland, Hooded one said Fabuland had a mayor.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
they do.
Oh,
What
Wasn't it
animal
the-
was
wasn't
the
it
mayor in
hippo
Fabuland?
or the lion? Which one was it? Yeah, see, Mayor Fleck is the
It wasn't a
mayor.
fox.
Well, this I will say this has been a lively discussion. Oh, now Marilyn, this is interesting. Actually, Marilyn brings up a point that I was going to say, and then I just kind of like breezed past it. But question for Megan: how many bald heads are there? I don't know if that's something that you've looked at yet, but how
Well,
many
we can
bald
find
heads are
out.
there? And are there any that aren't either white person flesh tone or yellow?
That's a
Yeah.
really good question. That's something
Add that
to
to your
look into.
research.
Yeah, we'll add that, because I know when we did our research, and we're going to publish this chart, and I would share it, but it's very dense, but it's truly a flow chart of different expressions. We'll publish it to our website this week. But we did not include like the purple, the gray, like all of the alien zombie type monster.
Right.
But we did distinguish by age. We took a look at ones that looked to be children, ones to be like younger adults, and then others that are older adults based on whiskers, wrinkles, and other things. But we did not specifically look at baldness as far as I know. Our interns were really busy, so they looked at a lot of data. I'll have to double check that, but it's something definitely for sure.
Yeah, well, it's somebody's saying, isn't every head a bald head until you add hair? Well, that's great, but except
It's until they started to show that there could be a way to make a bald head without leaving the stud exposed. And no pun intended, but off the top of my head, I think that all the Samuel L. Jackson figures have just had a stud exposed, and I don't think there is a single bald head that is not a yellow or light nougat flesh.
Yep.
yeah, and I mean that's and to me like part of a minifigure when it has hair on it is that there's no studs showing.
Mm-hmm.
So like just in my weird little brain, when I see a head with just a stud on it, I don't automatically see bald. I see like, oh, that looks unfinished sometimes, right? Like there's an unfinished quality to it a little bit.
It makes me think of my favorite Simpsons episode, the Brick Like Me episode, and how in that episode they did Lego Simpsons somewhat better than the Lego Simpsons minifigures did, in that they all had minifig heads with their appropriate hair attachments. And for Homer, it was just like this little dome piece that just
Well, that's the
flipped on
beauty
top
of an IP directed, specific line of anything, because they can get that detail specific.
Right. But in the show, which
Yeah.
was separate entity, the way that they had Lego-fied the Simpsons actually showed how you could do a really good bald head just by capping it off,
Yeah, and they need to do bald patches too, because I mean that's like, gosh, that's got to be a huge percentage of the male community, of having at least a little bit of balding or pattern balding, and I don't think I see any of that, if ever.
No, it's either a comb over or completely bald. Like
Right,
that's what you get. Or I mean,
Now I really want
Professor
hair pieces
Ring.
that are just like
Yeah, there's an old
short-shot
man that had
versions.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, the tufts.
I gotta
Professor Tufts.
I have to point to this one again by Orson. He gave me little it's a little bright. It's hard to see, but I have like cotton ball hair.
Aw, cute.
He made my hair.
Cute.
Well, I think we're gonna to wrap it up for today. But this has been a fantastic conversation. I really loved hearing everybody's input on it. So thank you all for coming and agreeing to talk about this today. And thank you, Megan. so much.
Yes.
For coming and talking to us and bringing that information from the Women's Brick Initiative. Now, can you tell everybody a little bit about how they can find this Women's Brick Initiative and the information that you all put out?
Sure. We are on Facebook and Instagram and occasionally on Twitter when I remember to post. You can find us. We've got Women's Brick Initiative site on Facebook. We also have a private Facebook group if you'd like to join. Please do. You can find us on Instagram at The Women's Brick. And we also have a website, womensbrickinitiative.com, where we actually publish all of our research. You can go take a look at our blog if you're interested in our research on gender equity and diversity, as well as I'll put in a plug for our diverse minifig petition. We are calling on LEGO to produce a more equitable range of skin tones, and we have a pretty much a thesis documenting why yellow equals white, and why we need to really restore equity when it comes to the skin tones. So encourage all of you to take a look at that. Feel free to contact us through any one of those media if you have other questions. Maybe we've done the research on it. If we haven't, we can certainly add it to our list. And thanks, Flynn and Richard, for inviting me on today. This has been great. I'm happy to come on anytime you want me to rattle off numbers or anything else to do with friends, actually.
You are always so well researched. I mean, you're fun to hang out with too, but I got to say you add a lot of really strong research when you come on, and that's great.
That's fantastic. So thank you, and thanks for bringing your numbers. And I know that I'm looking forward to seeing all that. Now I've seen the chart already, and yes, it is dense, but it's a good read, and it's a good, it's something to consider and to think about. So. Excuse me.
Yeah, Megan, I just discovered, number one, it's good to see you again. Number two, I just discovered WBI on Instagram maybe a couple weeks ago. And so I'm looking forward to seeing more, following more of y'all. So
awesome. And Randall, I just moved to the Chicago area, so I think we're kind of neighbors.
Oh, yeah, let's link. Yeah.
Oh, fun. Awesome. Well, thank you, panel. Thank you to Holly, Randall, Moto, and Blair for coming and showing up and always being
accessorizing,
and always being here to join in on the discussion.
Did you guys have a figure for today?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. We've been talking about minifigures for so much.
Megan showed hers,
right?
but the rest of us didn't.
Yeah, sure. Let's go ahead and take a look. Moto, why don't you go first?
Oh, well, okay.
Yay, mini Disney Castle Mickey.
Yep, mini Disney Castle Mickey.
Very cool.
Very apropos because I did put the set together and I like it. It was a really fun build.
All right, Holly, what have you got?
All right, so I think I showed these briefly during one of our conversations, but here's a good look at a couple of guys filling out the gray skin tone line.
Oh, very good. Very good. Nice. Blair, have you got a fig for us? So you showed your troll earlier, I know.
Yeah, that was June's. Another one of June's that they wanted to share, but then now they're back eating and not, jumping all over me. Was they made Elfsa. They were very proud of their funny Elfsa. And
that's great. That is great.
And I know a lot of people are really excited about our new Build a Minifigure assortment. So I brought the skeleton mariachi guy.
Oh, nice.
If you get the other skeleton top and switch out the arms, you can get it to be very full skeleton-y. And pigs on the BAM assortment.
Very good. Randall, do you have a fig today?
Yes, I do. This is from my 1966 Batcave that everybody bought. So this is one of my favorite ones, the Adam West. Yeah. So I have I got the Batmobile, the newer one that they came out with, but I haven't put it together yet. So there's another one in there.
Very good. Yeah. And we got so Megan, do you happen to have a minifig close by or a mini doll that you are a fan of?
Sure.
Or just something sitting on your desk.
Well, actually, what's sitting on my desk is I've been building the Lego House dinosaur.
Oh,
And
the
so
recolored
that's
one.
what I've been doing during the stream, which is why I love Lego live streams, is because it's the only place where you can build and do something else and be polite at the same time.
Right.
So yeah, this is the Lego House dinosaur, which I bought some time ago and still have not built, so I was taking advantage of that now.
Very cool. Nice.
She showed her minifigure earlier too. She had the Banshee.
Oh, that's right. That's you are correct. You are correct. All right, honey, what have you got?
So I've been excited about this figure, and it's been in our special minifigs collection for a while. We've got C-3PO, but I just discovered this is a keychain that someone modified.
Oh, no.
Maybe me. How many people out there have tried to turn a keychain into a minifig?
Many people, I can promise you. And I have, in the sort of in the Halloween vein of fun, I have Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from the Lego Dimensions.
Oh, that's what. Oh man.
Yep.
Oh no, did you miss out on that one too, Randall?
Oh, absolutely. I was not checking for dimensions at all. Except for Back to the Future. I got that one. So yeah.
Very good. Do you have Moto? You showed yours, Moto, right?
Yeah, but it's a +1 because I'm gonna ship this off.
Probably +1. Okay. What's your +1?
Do I need a base for it? I don't think I do. So I was going through the build your own minifigure thing for cool parts, and Caleb's chameleon just happened to be in there.
Oh, that's so cool.
So I'm going to try to find a red lobster with the stud on top, and then I can make the chameleopster and send it off to him.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I brought those on after they did that episode. Whenever I had the little like mad scientist with them. They're so perfectly their mocks from the show. It's
that's awesome.
That's an awesome little find from the depths of the make your own minifig.
All right, friends. Well, thank you again all for joining us today. Thank you everybody out there for coming and watching and joining in on the discussion. It was a lively chat on screen and in the chat today. Always love to see that. And yes, Kara's fine. She just had life to deal with today. So I hope that everybody enjoys the rest of their weekend. And don't forget, as always, until next time, to stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, wear that mask, get that vaccine or that booster as soon as you can, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Happy building.
Bye.